Apparently, building around Cat is a safe bet, since here's what he told The Athletic, quote, "I'm tremendously happy." How about that? How about hearing that?
Happy, yeah.
I love my front office. I love my coaching staff. I think we've made great moves, great changes. I love the culture we have here. If you want to leave, you have to be miserable somewhere. I am not. I am planning to be in Minnesota for a long time. So first of all, nice to hear an NBA player say that. Shout out to Karl-Anthony Towns. He is entering his 5th season, but he only has 1 playoff appearance. So George, do you expect the Wolves to make the playoffs next season? And therefore, do you expect Karl-Anthony Towns to remain happy?
I don't expect them to make the playoffs this season. I don't think their roster is great. I think they
were not on your list.
Yeah, they were not on the list earlier. I do think that they could potentially sneak in, but it's going to be on Karl-Anthony Towns. And we know how great an offensive player he is, but he has the ability, if he decides to dedicate himself on defense, to be like Anthony Davis. I think he can have that kind of impact on the floor. And he can't be alone. It's going to take Andrew Wiggins to come along with him on both ends of the floor. I think both guys need to really assert themselves defensively, and that gives them a shot.
I mean, I don't even have them on my hedging list. I mean, we're talking about Sacramento and Dallas are my hedge bets after, San Antonio and Golden State. They're not going to make the playoffs. And so now he's going to be a 5-year NBA pro with 1 playoff appearance.
And not a great one at that, by the way.
Yeah, and back in the day, you used to see, Mitch Richmond as the star of the Kings. He was universally respected in the league, just didn't consider to have enough talent around him. Perhaps that will be a player profile that he can accept and embrace and move forward with. But when he says, I'm going to stick around for a long time, I look at it like he's going to stick around 3 more years and then be an unrestricted free agent after 7 years, and then we'll see.
Look,
I mean, maybe 3 years is a long time, the way the league changes these days, but...
Yeah. If you don't want to go anywhere right now, then there's certainly no harm in saying, hey, I'm really happy right now. I always caution players overall, there's no need to make a prediction about your future, because none of us know what the future holds, and that perhaps that stuff can get used against you, roll it back. But I do like him sort of saying, I like it here. I think that's fine.
Well, I think that Gerson Rosas has done a great job right away, just kind of talking to these guys and getting with these guys and understanding kind of his philosophy. They clearly are familiar with Ryan Saunders, so I think they clearly like that. But as much as they like those guys, I think there's a little shade at Tibbs here.
A little?
I think that, I know, I'm just saying.
Karl-Anthony Towns has basically taken a giant flashlight, put something in front of it, and then had Tibbs under the shadow.
I think that there's some shade being thrown there at Tibbs. As much as they like those new guys, I think it's a lot about what was done previously.
And some shade at Jimmy Butler, too.
Well, that too. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point.
It's a big flashlight. Then this, and then you get the shade under. If the Wolves are going to have a good season, Andrew Wiggins certainly needs to be a part of that as well. Wiggins involved in the same workouts we showed earlier with Ben Simmons. So this is about to be year 6, guys, for the former #1 pick. He is already the 2nd leading scorer in Timberwolves franchise history. So, Dave, do we consider this a make-or-break season for Wiggins, or would you just say, look, this is who he is?
So we were talking about this off air. He is not a bust. He is an effective NBA basketball player who scores close to 20 points per game for his career. But he is not a transcendent star. He's not even an all-star. And I think because he had the weighted expectations, being considered one of the best prospects ever to come out of Canada, having documentary crews following his 1 year at Kansas, that he came in and people wanted more out of him. We saw that the length, and people were saying maybe he could be a Scottie Pippen back in the day. He hasn't scratched the surface of that, but we could look at him 5-10 years from now like a Rudy Gay. Because Rudy Gay had all this talent, and it was like, this guy's never really putting it together to get to the next level. But now you look at his career, and for 15 years been pretty damn consistent. Perhaps that's just what his story is, and that's not so wrong.
I mean, that's an interesting comp, but I do think it's wrong from this perspective. Wrong because I feel like as fans, we've been robbed of what he could potentially be, but ultimately he's got to want that, and he's got to want that every single night, and we've seen that he's got the skills to go for 20 points, and in some people's minds, he's not even giving it a full effort each and every night. I'm not one of those people, but I've done plenty of games where I've heard analysts say that, and it's not just our guys, it's guys at TNT and whatnot. So I think that I feel like he has so many more gears to go. So I don't want to say he's this guy. But if he wants to be another guy, he's going to have to put that on himself, because we're getting to the point where year 6, 7, and 8 are where we really determine that these guys are who they are.
Right. And I do want to always be careful, right? Because we're not with him every day in the gym. So I just think it's not a great idea to just keep repeating things that whatever. When there are actual scouting reports from actual scouts, though, that's what those are, and they say low motor. I mean, that's one of the things they say. So as you say, that is something that can get fixed if he does it, and maybe he's in the gym right now working so hard, Dave.
Right.
Share he'll probably share on Instagram because that's what happens in today's NBA. We'll find out pretty soon. But there aren't like Rodney Dangerfield stories in the NBA where all of a sudden you're one guy and then you become a star. There aren't John Hamm stories in the NBA.
I agree.
Like, you would show it in your first 5 years. So
right. I mean, Oladipo is probably one of those guys, a super late bloomer. But I don't think that, I don't know if Andrew Wiggins is beyond that at this point.
I was going to say, it wasn't as late as this.
Right.
So.
It's beyond that. But as you said, like he scratched the surface on some of his talent. We just haven't seen the full potential
It's
yet.
also just all context, right? As you said, if he hadn't come in the league with high expectations, if he hadn't been a #1 overall pick, if he wasn't involved in the trade that created the Cavs super team that obviously went on to win a title and compete in all those finals, that would be different. If he played on a team with Karl-Anthony Towns and one other really elite player, there wouldn't be that much pressure on him. People were like, look what he chips in every day. So it's context and fit in this league.
I have a question, especially for you, Dave, because you were there every day in Cleveland. Like, if Andrew Wiggins would have been on that team instead of Kevin Love, what kind of player do you think he would be today? Would he be any different?
I think LeBron James is tough on young players, and he does not have a ton of patience. Maybe that's
right. No, I know that part. Yeah.
Trait in terms of his whole character buildup is low patience. So I'm not so sure that would have worked out.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For highlights and analysis, check out the ESPN app, and for live streaming and premium content, check out ESPN Plus.